Welcome to the Midweek Fill-Up. This week, Pastor Justin Boyd will be speaking to us on Write the Vision. Prepare your spirit to receive as we dive in.
So, before I go too far into, tonight's going to be more of a personal night where I share some stories of how God brought me along when I was single, and then when I met Danielle, how the Lord had blessed us together, and how it requires you to stay faithful. I want you to see a side of my personal life years ago, because then maybe it'll encourage you and help you to go further in your walk. But tonight I want to read out of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verse 1. I'm waiting for Noah to put it up here. Now I want you to listen to this, because I find it interesting how he automatically takes a approach of standing. Because the moment that you're getting ready to do something for the Lord, the enemy's going to attack. Because the enemy wants to stop what you're doing for the Lord. And he doesn't want to give it time to even grow. So he's going to attack before it even has time to flourish or to prosper. And so let's listen to what Habakkuk 2 verse 1 says. It says, "And I will stand. I will stand." Not another person, but it's referring to you as a personal being. I will stand. So you have to make a mental note and make a decision for yourself to what? To stand. Upon my watch. So what is he doing? He is alerted to something, and he's taking a stance. So he's looking for something. He's aware of something that's going on. And it says, "And I will set me upon the tower." So he's on a tower. He's looking out over the horizon of wherever it may be. "And I will watch to see what he will say unto me." Now he's referring to the Lord when he says this. "And what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision." So as this man is standing here and he's watching, and he's on his watchtower, the mighty watchman, being the watchman on the wall, and he's looking out over the horizon of the enemy. And the Lord says, "Write the vision and make it plain." It don't have to be difficult. One thing I've learned, Apostle, is so many times, Brother Freddie, we make things more difficult than they have to be. I know I'm guilty in that. Yeah. And the gospel is never meant to be complicated. It's meant to be so simple that a child can understand. And while we make things so difficult, I guess we've got this high and mighty pride. I mean, I don't know. But we do. But it says, "Write the vision and make it plain upon tables." Some translations say tablets. That he may run that readeth it. So, as this man's looking over, standing on the tower, and he's looking out, and the Lord gives him this word. The vision's supposed to be plain not only for the person that's writing the vision, but the vision's supposed to be simple that the congregation may understand it as well. I mean, what good is the gospel if you're the only one that understands it? Wouldn't be too good, would it, Rex? It's meant for everybody to understand. It's meant for everybody else to be able to grab a hold of it and run with it as well. That's what the word was saying. Verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. That means it's got a destination time. It's got an appointed time that it's going to come to, that it's going to prosper. But first, it's got to get there. And how does it get there, Brother Freddie? Through your faithfulness. Being faithful. Being faithful for what? Just to the simple thing. Just being there. Finding something to do. So being available. And whether it be sweeping or taking out the trash, anything. Finding something to do for the Lord. Being faithful in the small things. And then He will progress you into bigger things. That's how it started with me. That's how it started with Apostle Freddie. He started, I remember you telling me y'all were in a chicken coop somewhere. Y'all had a church in a chicken coop or something like that. Or it was in a barn or... Yeah, and they were sawdust on the floor. And yeah. And he said that he would reach down and he'd pick trash out of the sawdust. But most people would, just forget about it. Sweep more sawdust over it and move on. But when you're in the presence of God and you're in the house of God, that's something you don't do. You take pride in what you do, especially for the Lord. And so for the vision is yet for an appointed time. But at the end, it shall speak. That means it won't be slow. It might start slow, but it won't remain there. And it says, and not lie. So it's not going to lie. God's saying, I'm going to do a fast work. I'm not lying to you. Though it may tarry, it might be slow. Wait for it, because I will surely come, and it will not tarry. So that means it's not going to stay slow for long. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it big, and I'm going to do it fast. Is this making sense? Is somebody getting something from this? He's going to do a good work, but he needs people that's going to remain faithful. All right, in verse 4. Behold, His soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in Him. So it's saying he's not righteous or upright in himself. He's got a source. But the just shall live by faith. I'm going to tell you this right now. God loves faithfulness more than anything. Obedience is better than sacrifice. There's so many times in my walk, in my life, especially in my younger days, where I was quick, and Brother Freddie got on to me. He said, you're sacrificing when God's saying all He needs you to do is be obedient. And there was so many times I was sacrificing when I didn't have to. When God just needed me to be obedient. To just stand still sometimes, move when He told me to. And I was making things more difficult on myself. So I'm going to kind of go into some stories that are personal and kind of make sense of all this. I wasn't going to take a lot of Bible scripture because I want it to be more personal tonight. So in my younger days, when I was about 18 or 19 years old, the Lord blessed me in buying a house when I was really young. And I thank God for that. And that blessed me. And He set me on a good path early so that when I met Danielle, I already had a house. And so we were able to, wait a year, and then we got married and was trying to start a family. But in the process of, So when I was in October 13th of 2007, I gave my heart to the Lord. And I was working, that's actually when I tried to take my own life. And shortly after, about 2 weeks later, is when I fully rededicated my life. But the Lord did a quick work in my life. And I had been working a part-time job for the state, and I was trying to get a full-time job. And it just didn't seem like it was working out. And so I was getting discouraged. And I wound up telling them for months, hey, for 8 months y'all shorted me on all the times that I've worked over 20 hours. And, I've worked 38 hours. That was back when you could work 38 hours, just slightly under 40 hours, and they didn't have to give you any insurance or anything like that. And so I was working all the time that I could in hopes that I would prove myself and they'd give me a full-time job. And I was working for the state. And so what happened was, for like several months, they were just paying me for 20 hours a week that I'd worked and cutting me out almost 20 hours of each paycheck. And that went on for like several months. And I kept telling them, like, something's not right. And he's like, we'll get to it. Well, come around December, my first day when I finally got a full-time job, my first day as being a full-time employee for the state, I got a call to go to the HR department. And I'm like, oh my God, am I getting fired on my first day of full-time employment? I mean, it just didn't make no sense. So I go up there and they say, Mr. Boyd, you're right. We have underpaid you for months. And, we come to make it right. And it's going to be a really good Christmas for you. And I was like, okay, what are we talking about? And they handed over a check for about $5,000. And I'd been making it because I was still living at home with Mom at the time. And I'd also been saving a little bit of money. I didn't have much, but I had some. And so I had about, $6,000 or $7,000. And this is back when the economy had literally just crashed. And the banks were looking for a way to be able to boost the economy. That's what they do. That's economics. And they had made the interest rates on houses super low. And I went in and here I was, an 18, 19-year-old little young man. I wasn't old at all. And a lot of my friends were like, why don't you go buy you a new vehicle or something like that, or buy a four-wheeler or a motorcycle? And I'm like, why? It depreciates. I want something that's going to be, that it's an investment, something that, it can change my life if I do things correctly. And so I took that $6,000 or $7,000 and I went into the bank and I was like, I'd like to, invest this somehow or buy a house or something. And they didn't know that I had any money on me. And it's like, well, you're awful young and you really just started this job, even though you've got, a year of showing that you got work and you've got steady work. We just don't know if, we can take that chance. Well, when I pulled out that kind of cash, well, then it's like, hey, you just come on back and sit down and we'll talk. So I sat down and they got to tell me about first home buyer grants. And I was eligible to get 2 grants. I got a $10,000 grant and I got a $5,000 grant. So that was a $15,000 grant that would go down on the down payment of a house. And I could take my money and put it forward to fixing it up. Well, it just so happened that a house literally come available, literally right beside my grandmother's. Brother Freddie and Sister Connie and even Danielle can vouch for it. This is before I'd met Danielle, but they'd been there. Well, my grandmother had been a widow my whole life. And she was getting old up in age and needed some help. And so I wound up placing a bid on this house. And when I placed the bid on the house, it was like $89,000, almost $90,000, right at $90,000. Which was a good deal at that time. Well, then it just so happened that after I placed the bid, and I knew the owners of the house because their son was my basketball coach when I was growing up. It just so happened that the bid went from 80 or right at 90,000 and it dropped 20,000. They were desperate and trying to sell it. Well, to most people, they was like, oh, I don't know if this house is worth it. So it went down to $70,000. Then getting a $15,000 grant, or first, home or FHA or whatever, first home buyer grants or whatever, that was $15,000. So I ended up getting this house for like $54,000. And I went in there and I worked at it for years. And I lived in the house for years, for about 3 years before I even met Danielle. And I remodeled everything. And then when I met Danielle, Brother Freddie come over and helped me do more work. We did a bunch of work. And I put a new roof on it, new windows in it, and, I invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources. Well, when I was 20 years old, the Lord gave me a vision. And He said, son, this house is to get you prepared for your wife. And you're going to have children. And so the whole time I was there, Sister Sherry, that was my focus. That was my vision. And somebody told me to write it down. And so I wrote it down. And here I was, 20 years old. And here I am putting all this work. And the Lord gave me a vision. And when I first bought the house, this house was falling down. I mean, windows were busting in it or cracked in it. The roof was leaking. I mean, plumbing was leaking. There was all kind of issues. And when I walked into this house, most people would have overlooked it. And it did look rough. But when I walked in and I first bought this house before I started working on it, the Lord told me, He said, you are just like this house. I'm thinking, well, why do you say this, Lord? And He said, because right now, you're broken, just like this house. You're shattered. You're unwanted. Nobody really wants this house. They overlook it. He's like, you're just like this house. A lot of people might not find you interesting. Most people might not like you or want you. You don't even like yourself. You're learning to do that. He's like, but as I'm going to do with you is exactly what you're going to do to this house. I have a vision for you, and I'm going to give you a vision for this house. And as you begin to come in and tear out all the bad things that need to be fixed to this house, just know that I'm doing the same thing to you inside, spiritually. And as you put back, just know that I'm putting back. I'm putting new things in. Well, I was 20 years old when the Lord gave me the vision, and I was 23 when I met Danielle. 22. We got married 2 days shy of our year anniversary of being together. We started dating on July 4th. We got married on July 2nd and of 2010. And 2011, right. And so we got married when I was 23, and we wound up selling this house because we made a promise to God. We said, if our jobs move closer to Hudson, because we decided to go to Hudson and go to Cornerstone, then we will move closer to the church. Well, it took years, and a little bit of discouragement. Didn't always look right, didn't always feel right, but sure enough, Danielle landed a job in Hudson as an HR manager for Walmart. And I was working in Hildebrand, kind of like literally right here. And I was like, well, maybe it's time that we sell this house and buy another one. So I say this, that this was back when the economy was literally shot again. Barack Obama was the president. Interest rates were just, the economy was shot. Banks wasn't offering a lot of money. And we had just went to Haiti. And we were trying to put the house on the market as soon as we come back from Haiti on a mission trip. And I went to the realtor that sold me the house and went to other realtors. And they was like, well, we'll get to you when we can. The market ain't that good. So we were there for maybe 2 weeks or a week and a half or something like that. And we come back. And when I come back, our whole storm door was loaded with, cards of people wanting, because we'd put a for sale sign out there. And my whole storm door was loaded with all these people that I went before we even stuck a for sale sign out there. And the Lord said, I don't want you to go to them. I told you to put a for sale sign, and I told you to write down the information, and you did that. And that's all I want you to do. And I was arguing with the Lord. I was like, Lord, do you not understand? And that you don't ever do that with the Lord. You just trust. I'm telling you this for your own good, okay? So, the Lord was like, I was like, Lord, do you not understand that when you put the house on the market, it's not only on the market in your local community, but it's broadcast clear across the country. So somebody in California can see your house and offer to buy it. And he's like, okay, don't trust me. Don't trust me. And it won't sell. And I was like, Lord, I didn't say that. I'll trust you. I'll do whatever. Well, no lie, there were 2 or 3 houses for sale on that street at that time and had been on the market for months. And it was not a good time to buy or sell, period. It was crashing. And so, they were people, our neighbors that were trying to sell their house was dropping the price of their house in desperate need to trying to sell it because they were paying 2 mortgages. You see what I'm saying? And we didn't have that problem because there were houses there for, like I said, for months. And we stuck the sign, and a month later, there were 3 families that wanted to come in and look. The 3rd family come in and offered to pay cash. And it was sold. All right, well, we were in a desperate need to now find a house because now our house was sold. So we were having to go through the proper avenues of getting a lawyer and getting it properly sold, doing it the right way. And we wound up finding a house in Gamewell, right there just a few miles away from Fred and Connie when they lived on Obsidian Lane. And it was a nice house. It was a big house for just 2 people. And we put a bid on it, and the people that was our realtor said, well, we've never seen houses close on the same day. I've been doing this for 30 years, never seen it. Sure enough, both houses closed on the same day. And so we were able to sell our house and start moving immediately and moved into the new house. And it just happened like that. Well, here I was probably like 27 at the time. And we tried to have children. Never happened. We tried to go to the doctors and did studies to try to figure out what was going on. I won't share Danielle's information too much, but I just wasn't. Our bodies were fighting one another, and so we just never was able to have kids biologically, and so we started doing foster care. Who's getting anything from this? And we started doing foster care. And we lived there in that house for about 2 years. And we wound it up. Fred and Connie had moved to South Caldwell. And they had lived there for a few months where they live now. And we decided I looked at Danielle. We did foster 2 kids, and it was called Jacorian and Coriana. And they were dear, very dear to us. And we had them for about a year. And Jacorian, when we got him, was about 3 months. Is that right, hon? And by the time that DSS come to us, Danielle They come to Danielle and they said, "You got 2 hours to say your goodbyes." Well, that was devastating, especially for her. They didn't give you 2 days or 2 weeks. They gave you 2 hours. Well, I literally watched Danielle take the last bit of clothing that they had on, and she had gripped it as if she had lost 2 babies. And that went on for like 6 months. And it was devastating. And it really put a strain in our marriage at that moment. And nothing that I could say could encourage her or help her. It just seemed like it made it worse. And so I just looked at her one day and I said, "Honey, why don't we just downsize? This house is too big for just 2 people. Why don't we downsize and we'll just buy a mobile home somewhere? Maybe we can sell it and pay cash, get a really good deal on it." We wound up selling the house that we were in. The market was still shot. Barack Obama was still your president. And we wound up selling that house within just about a month. And wound up buying a mobile home. How long? It was less than 2 weeks. Well, and didn't have a realtor. And so we wound up selling that house and buying a double wide, which is close to where we are now. And we almost paid, we gutted it, but we almost paid cash for it. So we basically had hardly any payment. Everything was, we had downsized. The insurance was cheaper. We were saving money. And we were trying to raise money for an adoption. Well, here I am. I'm about to turn 30. And the Lord gave me a vision when I was 20 and told me I was going to have children, I was going to have a wife, and I was going to have all these things. And I was watching. I was being that watchman on the wall. I was watching. I was looking out. And I was being prepared, but I did not know what I know now. I didn't realize that the enemy the whole time was going to attack a promise that God had. And I didn't always guard it. Does that make sense? And so when I was getting attacked, I wasn't a boxer with my hands up. I was taking the full blow because I didn't even know where I was getting hit from. You know what I'm saying, Brother Fred? It was a spiritual attack that I didn't understand because spiritually I was not prepared. Wasn't. And so here we are. We remodeled that one house and we start doing the paperwork for foster to adopt. And Danielle, you tell the story about how how you got the picture of the children.
Well, I've suffered a lot with infertility and a lot of struggle, and I didn't want to go back through foster care because the situation with the 2 that we had. But we went to Love Life in Charlotte, and the Lord let me meet a lady named Ann, and she started talking to us. And as she talked to us, the Lord just opened my heart to want to foster to adopt, and she explained it to us. And so we started the process. And the day that they called me about the kids, they called you for different. I'll turn it over.
Oh, you're good. I'll give it to you.
They call and they tell you about the kids, then they'll tell you how many they are, their names, and a little bit about them. And so it was just like everything that they were calling there was just something, not a peace about it. And I want God's peace, and that's just you can when God says something, it's His peace. So they called on a Tuesday afternoon, and she said, "I have these 4 kids." And that's all I heard, because I didn't hear anything about them because I heard the Lord tell me, I'm going to give you these children. I'm going to use them for my glory. And it was just like the Lord was speaking to me, and I knew immediately. Well, I said, I got off the phone because our goal was to adopt 2 kids. And when I got off the phone, I said, God, if you're saying 4 kids, you're going to have to tell Justin because I ain't telling him. So the only person I did call was my mama. My mom was like, Danielle, 4 kids? Like, I got 4 kids. You know it's a handful. And I was like, well, I heard God say it. And Mom's like, well, I'll pray about it. You know how your mamas are. I'll pray about it for you. But I knew she would. So, but I told her not to tell nobody. Well, I didn't tell Justin anything about what the Lord said. And he come home and he said, I said, Justin, they called me about these 4 kids and they would like for us to meet. And he said, I don't know. We'll just pray about it. And I said, okay. Well, we had went to Tennessee with my sister, and when we were on the way there, was it on the way there or on the way back? I can't remember. It was one of them. They called and said, hey, those 4 kids, we're going to separate them. They're going to be adopted out in different families. And I said, no, don't do that. I want to get them. And they were like, no, there's a family that's already wanting one. And so I said, no, like it just kept on. For 2 weeks, like I didn't hear anything else about it. And they canceled our visit with them. And I just kept praying, God, these 4 kids. Well, they called me and they said, hey, you remember them 4 kids? And I said, yes. And they said, well, we want you to meet them. We're not going to separate them. And I said, okay. Like, let's do it. And I said, by chance, what's their names again? Like, because I didn't know the first time because I didn't hear anything she said about them because I just heard the Lord. And I'm glad I didn't know anything except their names. So right after I got off the call, Justin calls me and he said, hey, do you remember those 4 kids? Like, I just really feel they're our kids. And I was like, well, you just won't believe it. They just called me about it. Well, then Mom calls me like after, and she said, I've been praying about them 4 kids. And so it was just like God was confirming it. Well, the day that we went and met them, they said Deslyn did not talk at all. She didn't cry. She didn't have no emotions. And they love hearing my story, hearing me tell about it.
They said she wouldn't eat hardly anything.
And Colton doesn't talk to nobody. Leah's very shy and very skittish. And that Braxton was just angry. He didn't want nobody talking to him. Well, first they were in separate homes, and Deslyn and Colton had just got together the week before. And so literally, I'm not joking, we walked in the door. I could take you to China Grove where the house was because every time we go by there, Deslyn goes, she stands up, walks over to me, Mama. Yep. And it was the most best feeling. And Justin and Colton hit it right off. And he has that big old smile that he always has. And it was like God attached. Well, then we go, that same day we got to go all the way to where Braxton was, which is like 2 hours away from them. And he walked in. He didn't want to smile, did you? But
we brought some Legos.
We brought some Legos, and boy, you talk about
changed everything.
Boy lighting his eyes up. And he said, well, I think I can come live with you. And I was like, well, he said, but you won't keep me long. And I said, I said it like this, boy, if you come to my house, you ain't ever leaving. He said, we'll see about that. And he said, everybody tells me that. And I said, when I make a promise, I keep it. And so I've kept my promise, right? And but we might fight a little bit, but I love him. But I'd fight anybody that tried to get him. But anyway, Aaliyah, it was like she just lit up the day we got to meet her. We got to meet her the next day. But when God put us back together, see, God's good. God takes all the brokenness. Because you don't know how bad it was. I was broken. Sorry.
That's okay.
But when God takes brokenness and puts it back, it's a beautiful puzzle. And God does amazing things. If you just understand when you are broken, and I've been there to the point I didn't want to live, and God said, I'm going to put you back together, and I'm going to put you greater. And look at my 4 great things that God's gave us. He's put us back together, and no man can take it apart. And what He puts together, no man can destroy. And so we went through so much, but God has done a miracle. I can't give life, but God allowed me to save 4 kids' lives to be able to be raised up to do the glory of God for Him. And so, but when we got them, you okay if I tell the story?
Well, tell them we were 30.
We were 30. And I had prayed, God, I won't have kids before I'm 30. Well, I was 30. But anyway, but we were talking about this, about the time that you had the vision. It was in 2008, and it was at the end of the year. Well, we got the kids 10 years later in 2018 at the end of the year.
At the end of the year. So it was literally
10 years.
So the Lord gave me a vision. I was being that watchman, like that scripture said, and I'd wrote a vision, but in my heart, I felt like I'd missed it.
When we bought that house, he wrote, and he said, I'm going to put this up there. When we moved in,
it was
I was
second house
angry and did not want kids at all, because it was just like, I'm not going back through that hurt. I ain't doing it. And he said, I'm putting this up there. But he did, when you did, the Lord healed my heart to be able to want to open up to adopt. God just answered that prayer. Everything that Justin had wrote on that prayer, it's at the house. I meant to bring it. But God answered it.
It was in 2015.
He saw his heart and what he had. But the 4 kids, moving in a 3-bedroom house, them getting to know each other and us getting to know them, that's a big overwhelming thing. I can't even tell you how bad. But anyway, we just started praying, and the Lord started laying it on both of our hearts. Kind of, we hinted around to each other about maybe looking for a different house, but we loved the community we were in. But you went to church that Sunday morning, and
I was praying about it. I'd fasted for a couple of days, and I went up to the altar to get a word. And Ralston, Becky's husband, he's not the kind of person that would come and give you a prophetic word, but he gave me a prophetic word that morning, and I listened to it because he'd never done that before. And I felt it in my spirit, because he said, what the Lord has done for you 3 times, He'll do a 4th. Well, that's how many houses that we had. And this one have been the 4th house.
No, this was the 3rd
The 3rd house. He said, what He's done for you before, He'll do again.
And
so this would have been the 3rd.
We were looking the week before for a house, and we found a 5-bedroom house, which happened to be the next street over.
The next street behind where we were.
A 5-bedroom house.
You could throw a rock and hit it.
Yeah.
Same school district, same fire district, everything.
But she said, you need to have a down payment. Well, when he come home, he said, Danielle, we're going to put this house up for sale. I want you to post it on Facebook. And I said, okay. Well, I took pictures, and not even 13 minutes after posting it, a man calls me, because I put my number on there. He said, hey, I'm 13 minutes away. He said, can I come look at your house? And I was like, oh, yeah, let me get dressed. Like, come on. Boy, you talk about getting dressed. Aaliyah was sick that day, and so that's why I didn't get to go to church that morning. Well, I got dressed, and he got there, and he walked around the house, and he said, I saw your asking price. He said, I want to buy this house. And we said, okay, well, we told him we needed the down payment. We we were going to put that down payment on that other house. Well, he said, I've got the cash right here. He laid the whole
Laid it
cash
down.
for the whole amount
cash
of the
for it.
house.
It
Well,
was sold in 30 minutes.
and then, but also, you have to go through like the lawyers to close the house. And we were like, oh my goodness, how are we going to close on this house? Where are we going to live for a little bit until we get to close on the other one? Well, it all worked out. We got to close on that house the same day. Close and buy.
Yeah.
And so each time we've done that, the Lord's worked it out. So, but when the key to this whole thing is, are you going to be obedient to God?
Right.
Are you going to let Him have His way? When He tells you to do something, are you going to do it? And so, I'll let you go.
I'm going to come close to ending on this one. So the Lord gave me a vision when I was 20, and we got the children when I was 30. That's 10 years of, I was constantly wondering, Brother Freddie, did I miss it? Did I miss the vision? Because I wrote it down. Did I miss it? Was I wrong? Was I just hearing stuff? And it come to pass 10 years later of never giving up on it, never accepting the word no, still doing what you knew to do every single day, whether you felt like it. Some days you felt like fighting, some days you didn't. But you keep staying faithful to what you know to do. And like Danielle said, we had wrote this prayer and we'd put it in that, what are those things? The prayer thing. The sukkah? No, then it's a sukkah. Mezuzah, yeah. We put that prayer in the mezuzah. And when we took it down from the second house to move to the third one, which is where we got the kids, the prayer, it fell out of it. And I'd forgot all about it. And if you know anything about the mezuzah, when you walk into your house, it's tilted as the way the door opens. So as you walk in, you kiss your hand, your finger, and you put it on the mezuzah. So it's like you're blessing your prayer. And so we did that every day. And when we went to remove it from the house, the second house we sold to the third, the prayer fell out and I read it. And by this time, we had the 4 kids. Yep.
You had 4, you've had 4 houses.
Yeah. Well, no. Was that on the 4th house? Sorry. So when we took it down, when we took it from the second house, and it didn't fall out, but we put it to the third house, and when we left the third house and moved to the 4th house, the prayer fell out, and it was written, and by that time we had 4 kids, and it was exactly what I wrote down in the prayer of having kids, children, and waiting years and years to see it come to pass. And so what I'm trying to tell you is, just like the Bible verses, not everything that you do is going to be a quick work. It's going to be slow. Sometimes God's got to bring testing and trial to test you to see how faithful you'll be. And then sometimes it'll be a quick work. And I've seen both. But what I'm trying to tell you is, no matter what you're doing for the Lord, it is worth pursuing. And it's not worth pursuing halfway. It's worth pursuing with everything you have. It's worth pursuing because God is faithful. Even when we fall short, even when we're not faithful, God is always. And I can never remember of a time that He's not been faithful. And I'm here to tell you that what we're doing here is going to be a quick work. I mean, we started with just a few weeks ago with no money, and now we have 11,000. It can be done. But it's all about how you look at it. So I ask you, check your faith. Look in the mirror, and it's like, do I have the faith to go further? Because If you don't, let's pray about that tonight. I pray that God strengthens your faith. But at the same time, I know that God is more than able to do more abundantly than what we could ever ask or think. Shaken, pressed together, overflowing. He can do it. I've seen it. Brother Freddie's seen it. I mean, if I let him share the miracles and the things that God, we'd be here all day. We'd be here a week. He could write books on this thing. And I've been able to witness some of it for 15 years. No lie. Seen it. Sherry's seen it. But I tell you, listen, yes, we're starting with humble beginnings, but we've started off good. And what you see now is not going to remain the same. It's going to get better. And God's going to do a quick work. But it all starts here. Where are we at here? If you feel like just giving a few dollars is not good enough, listen. If you give the best you can, you don't have to give 1,000 or 200 if you ain't got it. If all you can give is 50 cents, every little bit counts. But we can do this, and we're going to. And God has got this. And I just wanted to encourage you, because I have seen God through my almost 20 years of serving Him, and I've seen God move over and over like that. And I could tell you more stories and miracles of how God has moved in my life and in mine and Danielle's life. I've seen how He's moved in Apostle's life and Sister Connie's life. I've seen it. And the just must live by faith. The righteous must live by faith. We must trust Him. Even when it looks like we can't, we must trust Him. So that's all I have for you tonight. But I wanted to share with you a little bit of my life to encourage you that what you see, oh, it's much better on the other side. I promise you. I promise you. But that's all I have.
Thank you for joining us for the Midweek Fill-Up. We pray that this message from Pastor Justin Boyd has blessed you. We would love to have you join us for one of our services in person. Our address is 201 South Center Street, Hildebrand, North Carolina. Join us Sundays at 10 a.m. for Sunday school, 11 a.m. for worship, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. God bless you, and we hope you'll join us again next week for another episode of the Midweek Fill-Up.